Hello, everybody. I'm here with
Hello.
one of the winners from the Traitors OCG, Lori herself. What's up, Grandma Lori?
Not much. It's awesome to watch the show though. I had such a blast. It's even more of a blast to watch it put together. I
All
now
right.
totally see what Jason meant. And like the podcast, the reviews, oh y'all are crushing it, man. You make me laugh every week.
Yeah, they've been a lot on the podcast this week, of this season. I mean, well, let's circle back to the beginning. Coming into the game, you said you'd never done anything like this before. The first adult thing you've done in a long time.
Yes.
What was your strategy, if any, coming in?
I had none when I came in, none whatsoever. I was just like, I guess I'll just read people and see how well I do on that. And I did pretty good. Not as well as I hoped, but like I did pretty good.
I mean, good enough to win, I would say.
Yes. Yes, everybody ragged on my notes, but I'm like, haha. But now I can tell my kids, see, when I told you to take notes. Help grandma win a game. So, take
Yes, the
notes.
notes were a big part of your game. I feel like on the
Yes.
podcast they gave you some crap for not, I guess, telling enough people the information in your notes. But I guess in the end, you knew all the information in your notes, so I guess they still helped you, right?
Yeah. I really
What
don't. I was reading them earlier and I was like looking through and I was like, I really didn't write a whole lot of shit down. Like, holy
it
hell.
seemed
I
like you were
like,
always writing.
I was always doing something like that night I was drying turkeys for the kids and always doing school something.
Now, one of the things that happened early that you didn't know about, but Jason was the one kind of putting your name out there that Lori might be too obvious that she's the traitor because she's just a perfect
Mhm.
grandma. What was it like watching that back? That Jason was the one that was throwing your name out there the most.
Oh, I laughed. I laughed so hard. Because, like, in one of our one on ones, he was like, I'm the one who said, can you really be this saintly of a grandma? Like, he straight up told me he's the one who said it. So I was like, that's cool. It was funny.
So, what was it about Anthony that you two became so like a duo in the game? Was it just because you were interrogators together, or was it something else about Anthony that connected you
I
two?
think it was just because we were interrogators together. And then, like he had a lot of good points. And he was a good leader to follow for a while.
Did you just trust him? Because at one point he was
I,
like, "You gotta
I,
trust me," and like
I
just
did. I
take notes
trusted
while I
him.
talk. Yeah.
Yep, I did. I trusted him. Except for on that night, I really didn't take that good of notes because I was doing school stuff.
What was it about Anthony that you trusted him?
He was seemed like he was pretty straightforward.
You two got a lot of grief about some of your plans from the whole
Hmm.
he's going to interrogate, you're going to take notes, to the number system that was
Hmm.
just random numbers. But that one kind of worked in the end. But
Yes.
walk us through why this was your strategies with Anthony. Why did you guys always come up with plans?
Why did we what?
Did you both always come up with plans?
We were working together as a team to find out who the traitors were, and got to have a plan to get there. So create one
Now,
and get there.
you guys created plans. All right. One of the people that at first you got close to because he told you that Amancio was after you was Dar. Was it
Hmm.
because that Dar told you about Amancio coming after you? Was that why you seemed to trust him the entire game?
He was actually like one of the first four people that were I started the game with. And on the first night, I said, how cool would it be if we went all the way to the very end of the game with the four people that are in this room? I got to go all the way with Dar. So,
That's one way to look at it.
yeah.
Why wasn't Lauren included in that? Why was
She
Lauren just
was. She
so
was included.
suspicious to people?
Well, no, I thought that it was her and Raven. Because my going into this, I was like, okay, it's Mike, Raven, and Drea. And then I was like, okay, so it's not Mike because he got voted out. And then I was like, so it's Lauren and Raven, because the way they would go at each other sometimes it looked kind of set up.
What did you think about Elle? Why wasn't she ever truly on your radar? Was it the whole "we're both grandmas" thing?
She was on my radar. I just didn't tell people.
You thought she was a traitor for a while?
For a good while. Yeah, I thought she was. There were a few things that she had said, like about the Mike and Jason thing, and like I followed that, so I was like, something just doesn't add up there. And Jason was quite adamant that it, like, he kept calling everybody else out about it, and like he didn't have a problem saying, "Hey, you said this, and let's put it out there." And Elle always just kind of sat there quiet. And then there was one point where it looked like she was trying so hard to not laugh, and I was like, "I knew it was you." And I see that little giggle.
Do you remember what she was trying not to laugh about?
I don't. It was I think Jason and Dar were going after one another.
How about some of the other people you played with? How was it like playing with Raven or Drea?
Raven and Drea, they're awesome ladies. Like, I love them so much. They're just so awesome.
You did say at the end that Raven was the one that kind of put the nail in Elle's coffin for you. Was it you took notes on Raven always throwing Elle's name out there?
Yeah, I did. Because when Raven said, like, I forget what she said, but like she said something, I was like, oh, that's where that did come from. I think it was about the whole Lauren thing. And I was like, it made me snap that Elle is the one who did bring Lauren's name into my head at the very beginning. And I was like, oh, got you even more now.
Let's talk about the end when you did vote Elle over Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any chance you were going to vote for Jason at the end?
No.
You felt by that point he was a faithful?
Yes.
Was it because Dar ended up being a traitor?
No, it's because, like, I knew that Anthony had more shots than I did, and I put a lot of trust in Anthony there, and I kind of asked him to kind of like check out the stories, because I knew that Jason was kind of on to Dar, but I didn't know the whole full story, and I knew that Anthony had chats with him, so he could give me more information.
Would you ever play another game?
I would. It was a blast.
Besides learning what sus meant, what was the biggest lesson you learned in this game?
Let's see. To be more open to others. Because Mike tried to lead me down the path of Dar, and like I heard him and I listened. But I thought it was a little bit too risky to go for Dar at that point. And then like Raven kind of put me on to Elle, and I didn't listen to Raven about Elle. Just the ghost of the faithfuls is who I went for, or with, actually.
Yeah, and it worked in the end.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts on the season?
It was an awesome season, and thank you so much for last night's ending, because like that made me cry. It made all of us cry. We were like, ah.
It was very poignant, I thought.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Like, and it was awesome getting to know everybody. Like, y'all are just awesome folks, man. And we need to do a reunion. Just reunion.
I know. I don't think it's gonna work this season, unfortunately, but we'll see. Maybe still. How do you feel about, since we had technical difficulties getting you here, how do you feel about doing a run-in during Jason's interview later?
Sure.
What is up, everybody? I'm here with one of the winners of the Traitors OCG. The last few weeks, people would probably not think that Jason was going to end up on top, but look at you now, Jason. Proving
that
look at this. Wrong.
Crazy times, I suppose. I was actually kind of surprised all the way to the very end, to be honest with you.
Playing or watching or both?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I had to convince myself, like, I think it's really going to happen. I don't know for sure, but I think it does happen the way that I remember it happening.
It does. Well, I want to go back to the very beginning. We'll start with Lori, since that was kind of the ironic ending to the whole season. You came into the game. Lori was one of your main suspicions, the perfect grandma. What was it like watching that back, and why was she your main suspicion besides Ashley?
To be 100% honest, I was so happy at the very end you didn't take away the fact that I went out of my way to say, like, she's going to watch this and realize, so I'm just going to put it out there, because it would have looked horrible if you didn't let that part be said, because I was thinking it the whole time. In fact, I felt a little bit cringe when I started laughing in the actual scene, where I started laughing and said, oh my God, she gave me Susan vibes, and I didn't know what to do. Because not only was I laughing during the show, but I kind of laughed about it to myself later that evening. Like, this is going to end up so bad. And if it turns out she's not a traitor, I look like an ass. If it turns out she is a traitor, I still look like an ass, because I went after her with absolutely nothing other than she gave me Susan vibes, and it was going to come up. I knew it was going to, and it happened.
Dar agreed with you, though. He said that she was giving Susan vibes at first, too.
I kind of felt like it was an easy, like, you don't have a lot to go on. Why not pick on something that would just bother me and see if anybody else takes it? A couple people took to it. And I decided I'm going to run with it and see where it takes me, not realizing that far in advance that she would turn out to be one of the best people that I could have ever met, and turned out to be the most fun time to the whole show, really. A lot of good storylines went along with her, and it's been really fun and funny to watch at the same time. And she's got a great sense of humor, so I think she's enjoying hearing and seeing what she's seeing right now.
And I will say it's great that you won, because I feel like you had a lot of main storylines, in my opinion. Another main one, of course, is you pop in. Mike's one of the first people you see. You remember him talking shit on the podcast.
Sure.
But you two did agree to work together at first.
Yep.
Explain your two's relationship and why it eventually ended the way it did.
Yeah, so there's a couple parts to that. Certainly when, and I thought Dot said it best. When Mike pops on a screen, just because we're paying so much attention and there's history there, mine is way different than Dot, so I don't want to say that. But Mike being on a screen is an old moment for anybody that's watching and any contestant, because we're smart enough now to know just how smart Mike is and what a great player he is. So he brings a presence of, man, you got to figure out a way to be on his side for at least a period of time, because if you're on the other end of it, it could go really bad. I've just been on the opposite end of a podcast and felt horrible about myself for a night or two. So I definitely didn't want to start off a brand new game being on his bad side. So I thought, you know what? I've got this idea in my head that if there are going to be returning players, there's got to be one of us that's the bad guy. Even if it is Mike, I need him to be at least my good guy for right now, because I'm going to try to cling on him the best I can. And to be honest, I thought it was going to go longer than it did. I found some affiliation with a couple other people as opposed to Mike. And one thing I was happy watching back was that Mike has suspicions on me, because I would have felt like an even bigger douchebag than I already did during a period of time if Mike would have been saying, like, I had a horrible opinion of Jason, and he's definitely not a traitor. He's one I can absolutely trust. But luckily for me, behind the scenes, he was saying, I think that guy might be a traitor. So it worked out pretty good.
That was my next question. Did you at any point during the game realize that he thought so badly that you might have been a traitor?
No, especially when we had the sports things in common. And definitely watching back, if I could have realized that the Drea thing was all about sports, not only would him and I have been close, but I would have stood up for him to say, like, hey, just so you know, he's talking about liking the exact same 4 or 5 sports teams that I do. Definitely wasn't talking about anybody, in particular. He was talking about sports and sports only right now. And I think, if anything, that whole Drea and Mike situation might have resulted in Mike and I's friendship becoming even closer, because she just happened to be attacking him for something that I actually do take very personal, my Detroit sports teams. So it was a whole awkward situation that if I would have realized in real time what she was doing, to be honest with, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but with Drea being who she was, I kind of thought she was just stirring some stuff up, and I was there to watch as opposed to sticking up for anybody at that time.
Drea was another little storyline of yours. What was it like playing with Drea?
So I love Drea in real time, and I love her even more watching it, because she had to be, you know me, I tell you a lot of things behind the scenes. I'm into really good television. I like oh hell moments and what can we do to cause some drama. And apparently I found the other end of that, because Drea was all about that from almost moment one, including coming at me. And it was a little scary and intimidating at the time, but watching it on television, God, I just loved it. I thought she was like the best character you could dream of, starting with her snapping on me on a wig that may or may not have been a wig. I loved it. It was hilarious. And the group that we had watching that episode just thought it was the funniest thing that she came at me like that. So it worked out great for everybody included.
First I want to go circle back to the returnees, because you were the main person being like, at least one person has to be a returnee. First of all, this was your first time seeing Dot and playing with Dot. How was Dot? Because he really wanted to work with you. He trusted you at one point.
And so that was a tough thing for me, because definitely even over Dar, I wanted to work with Mike. And then Mike's initial response to me even bringing up that maybe instead of attacking each other, we should kind of work together, or at least have each other's backs a little bit. He brought some past stuff that happened with him and Dot up. So without even knowing Dot or knowing the history there, you kind of automatically go with the story that you're hearing as opposed to anything else. And not that Dot's was any different. Their stories were pretty aligned with one another on why they had issues with each other. But it immediately put more of a radar for me to watch out for Dot than it did for me to watch out for Mike, because I at least knew me and Mike had established some common ground on where we were going to go forward. With Dot, I didn't know anything about him, but then I got to know him, and man, he's just got such an upbeat, fun personality. I was like, if this guy's the asshole that everybody keeps saying he is, I'm not seeing it. I can't imagine this guy double crossing me. But then again, that's what the name of the show is, so it could happen. So I always stayed on edge with Dot, but man, I truly enjoyed getting to talk to him and work with him with the time that we had. And I found some trust in him that I didn't realize I was going to have so early on. He's just a fun, funny guy, and I really enjoyed him.
Once Mike was eliminated, did you suspect that it had to be Dar, since it was, you kept bringing that up? Yeah.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because as the podcast would say, if he really felt that way, why wasn't he saying it more often? Well, that's the beauty of editing. And I'm happy that it came out at the very end that I was continuously saying that. I didn't lose focus of that, but we reached a point where this was going to become I'm constantly pointing Dar out and saying, it's got to be him because it's not me. And then I look foolish because I'm the one that planted this seed that it's got to be one of the returnees. And now there's only two of us. One, everybody trusts, Dar, and one has got a big mouth that doesn't shut up and is trying to tell everybody, I'm not a traitor. I'm not a traitor. So if I push that too hard, that's going to make me look bad. But I believe pretty intelligent to believe that for whatever reason, even if it was just because he knew me, or he was yelling at another traitor to say, like, no, let's use Jason all the way to the end and then destroy him in the finale, Dar kept me around. And I started to believe that if I pushed that button too much, he was just going to get rid of me. But if I kept it quietly in the back of my mind, I always had him on my side. And if I have some faithfuls on my side, then that means I'm doing pretty good on both sides. And so I didn't want to overly, for the first time ever, be too loud about saying my opinion on something.
And I thought that was good. I mean, the podcast review just shreds the last few weeks, unfortunately. But in the episodes, it was very subtle. But you would keep telling people the same thing. It has to be a returnee. And you would say in your confessional, I want to be close to the traitors too. So I believed the whole time that you thought it was Dar.
And I know you did. You just decided to edit out a little bit of that, me saying, yeah, I think it's going to be Dar now that Mike and Dot are gone. And that's okay.
I will say in the confessionals, I guess we just didn't talk about it. It didn't come up that you still thought it was Dar. But
I think
at least right after Mike left. Right after Mike left, it didn't come off anyway, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I put so much, I think, attention on myself with how my speech towards Mike was that it was like, man, if I start saying, well, then if it's not Mike, it's got to be Dar, I thought it was going to look like, no, dude, it's you. You're the one that went all in on that. You look like an idiot now, and we're going to go with you before we go with the quiet guy in the back that hasn't said anything negative or positive about anybody.
The other big storyline was Al, who at the very beginning became like your closest ally. I guess it was kissing ass. Is that really what did it?
Well, I wouldn't use that terminology. I think I said it very good at the very end. I fell for her sweet, kind, very calm demeanor at the beginning, and her story that she felt bad for me because I know I came off kind of like the bad guy or the villain with the Susan scenario, which I want to remind everybody again. I think Susan is one of the most fun, funny, and sweet people I've ever known. And I got to know her so well after the show, through our own podcast stuff. but that's beside the point. That's for another day. But it felt like, oh my gosh, I finally have somebody that sees my side of things, and she feels for me and understands that I was just trying to do the right thing, and I was trying to do right by the team, and Susan just didn't want to play anymore, and I was trying to be kind-hearted and loving and caring. Well, it turned out that I was getting set up for the ultimate traitor trade, and she did great. Like, she was so awesome, and I believe that all the way until the very end, I just couldn't understand that loyalty to Mike. Like, could I get just a little bit of loyalty? I thought you liked me just as much as you liked Mike from previous seasons.
At what point did you suspect she was a traitor too? Was it just towards the end after you guys got out?
It was nothing that she did, unfortunately. I thought she was just honest to God mad at me. It was that Dar situation that aired kind of at the end. We talked about it, but in one of the votes, Dar refused to say what his vote was until he made it very clear that he had something awesome going on. And then he refused to say who his vote was until he realized that there wasn't enough votes for L to be voted off, and he went with L. And I had two scenarios with that. One, either they've got some background stuff going on and they're both traitors and they're attacking each other and they found a way to be mad at one another, and Dar's making it clear, if you do it again, I'm going to find a way to get everybody to turn on you. Or Dar was just being Dar and putting some stuff out there that would confuse everybody, which meant to me he was still a traitor, but he was pushing something onto somebody that was totally innocent. And at that time, Elle and I were going through stuff anyway, so it was like, maybe Dar's onto something here. And even though he's a little sketchy right now, it might be Elle this entire time, and that would explain. But then that felt to me like that's just my way of making it sound like she's doing something wrong because she was upset with me, and I didn't want to go down that path.
Now, your relationship with Anthony and Lori was very interesting because they became this very strong duo. But you and Anthony were close, but he also still had doubts about you. You had doubts about Lori at first. She had doubts about you towards the end. How were you able to work with them towards the end?
So I think it's important why I have my time that I make it very clear that when I talked repeatedly when the Mike vote happened, now that it's all said and done and it's all love, I care and love about everybody. Lori and Anthony flat out convinced me that we were going with Mike, and it resulted in me having to really reflect. And I think that was the beginning of me knowing and trusting that Anthony, even if often very wrong about the things, including thinking I was a traitor, he cared, and he was a very wrong faithful at times. Lori was kind of following in the footsteps of Anthony Goodwin, whether it was the right way or the wrong way, she was going to go with Anthony. And I started to align myself with the idea that we can go places here. And if they really, really believe that it's Mike, then it's got to be Mike. And that flip, as you're well aware, happened within minutes because we never talked again after it was made clear to me. Anthony came in with a big, boisterous, I'm going with Mike. Nobody's going to change my mind. This is what it is. And then him and I went on to kind of develop our friendship within that night or those 2 nights or whatever it was, where he continuously told me, unless Mike has something genuine to say in this interrogation, we're going with Mike. And I made that decision that I was going with Mike, and maybe I had it wrong, or maybe I had it right at the very beginning, but I wanted to stick with Anthony and Lori, believing in my whole heart that they were as loyal to me as they could be to each other. And it turned out behind the scenes, they were not as loyal to me because I was 65 all along and never had a chance if I don't change things around.
Well, Jason, I know you're a fan of pro wrestling like me. So I have a run-in for you in this interview. Don't worry, it's not Mike. Lori is here, your fellow winner, to join us for the rest of this.
Look at this. Perfect timing, right as I'm selling her out.
I'm not Mike.
Hi, Lori.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm still celebrating 3 months later, you know.
Right.
You both had a great win. And while I have you both here now, we were just discussing, Lori, that you and Anthony were so close. Jason was trying to be close to both of you. At what point did you finally trust Jason? Because you were shouting 65 for the last 2 rounds.
Because I needed him. I needed Anthony to talk to Jason more because Al was pumping me up with Jason stuff, and I needed more info, and I was like, Anthony has a one-on-one with him, so 65, dude.
65.
Jason,
Bullshit. Is that what it was?
bullshit. It was. Did you have in the back of your mind, Jason, that the number 65 had anything to do with you? Because at one point you mentioned that it might have something to do with you, and you were trying to say if it has anything to do with me.
Yeah, no, I think it was because the other numbers came up a couple different times, and I was like, wait, that's different. That's there's only me left. There's nobody else. They had numbers for other people, and I was the only one that wasn't mentioned, and now I'm mentioned. And I can't remember what it was, but Anthony had a conversation with you earlier where it was like it could be Jason or I think it was Raven. It was me or it was going to be Raven. And I'm like, that is a new number. Wait a minute. That's got to be me because it's not like Lori's calling bullshit on herself. That's got to be me.
Now, I asked.
I needed him to look at you more.
Right. Now, I asked Lori about this earlier, but Jason, another thing that happened, another confrontation you had was with Lauren. What went wrong between you and Lauren?
All right, so I feel like you know a little bit of this answer, but it's important because I like Lauren so much. To be honest, Lauren has been my favorite thing since the show ended because she's awesome in the chats. She was so sweet on her exit interview. And I think we all really, really like Lauren. But what I liked the most about Lauren was her abrasiveness and how she came at people because she kind of allowed me to sit back sometimes, which I'm not accustomed to doing. I loved Lauren to death. And again, I think you know a little bit about this. So the night that all that happens, I won. And so Lauren is correct. I said what I said, but I did it incorrectly because this is the night of the Tyson fight in Texas. And we talked a little bit about I might or might not have had one too many Texas margaritas leading into the conversation that I go to have. And Nick's got the outtakes, I'm sure, may come up in 10 to 20 years from now on views or something. I confused Lauren and Elle. And Lauren's name was being tossed around. And in reality, my heart was correct. I was trying to warn Lauren that people are talking about her and have said, like, yeah, she's just kind of going off at the mouth and she's upset at everybody and this and that. And it came from that conversation where she walked in and was like, were we just all going to sit here and talk? Like she had started to feel like people were coming at her. And she was correct. But when I walked in and it was Mike and it was Elle, for some reason, again, I just said, they're coming after you guys. And it got so screwed up that the next day I woke up and I was like, I think I told the wrong person that other people were talking shit about them. And I'm trying to convince myself that maybe it didn't happen. And then Lauren says, so I do got to ask you, did you say that? Or whatever it was, Elle kind of calls me out on it too. And I got so confused that I was just trying to take it off of me because I knew it was going to look bad for two people, that I was stirring up a big pot for both of them, and they hadn't gone at each other. And so I was trying to fix it to say like, oh no, this was back a couple days ago or a couple nights ago. And it was just this big, huge confusion of I was trying to warn somebody that I cared about that, hey, you better be careful because they are saying things. But I said it to the wrong person. And at the time it was early enough along. Maybe I hadn't figured out Lauren and Elle, or the tequila in Texas was just stronger than I'm accustomed to in Indiana. I'm not sure, but I just got confused. And I told Nick the next day, I think I just goofed it up. That's what it was. I was saying the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Lori, you have a different favorite pastime, not so much the drinking. You mentioned your smoking during the game. Do you think that affected your game at any point, or did it help it?
I think it helped it.
Focus more?
I think. Yeah. I focused. I mean, there was a part there I did think that Jason was, but like on the very last night I was going through on my notes and I was like, no, it's not Jason. Because on all of my notes it says, no, it's not Jason at the end of each one. And I'm like, oh man, okay, so it's not Jason.
Someday I think it's correct. We need to all see that notebook, Nick. That's what I think. It's part of the contract she signed.
I agree with that.
If you take notes, Nick is entitled to them.
I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure it out before all this, and I was like, holy cow, where was your head that night?
Do you ever look back at it now and say to yourself, like, what does this even mean?
No, I know what it all means, but I'm like, well, actually, I take that back. There is a couple pages where I just have all of our names written down. I'm like, what the hell? like I was busy drawing turkeys that night or something because I don't have anything written down.
Lori, did you enjoy Lauren's abrasiveness, or is that part of the reason that you thought she was a traitor at times?
I I don't know if I enjoyed her abrasiveness. I mean, she was on it. I did think that her and Raven were kind of like working a little bit together on some things, because sometimes it just seemed like their little riffraff was a little bit scripted, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, maybe they are working together.
Jason, did you suspect that too?
No, I felt that there was some genuine animosity there, to be 100% honest. And at the time, it was just like, this is who Lauren is, and Raven is nothing like that. So she's not sure how to bounce back from somebody coming at her that way. That's not in her character. And I think we all kind of took the approach like, oh, like we felt horrible for Raven. Like, she hasn't done anything. Why are you picking on her? And I think that resulted in some of us maybe thinking like Lauren was coming at her, trying to push pressure off of her onto Raven, knowing that Raven wouldn't stand up for herself the same way that she might have if Elle would have come at, or she would have come at Elle, or definitely if she would have come after Drea the same way that she came after Raven. I think that would have been a whole new scenario where we would have looked at it totally different if Lauren would have walked into the room and talked to Drea the same way that she talked to Raven. So for me, it was more like,
Yeah.
I think Lauren feels she's onto something and she's sticking to it, whether we like it or not. And she's going to put Raven into a corner where Raven has to explain herself. And that's not really Raven's character. The ukulele couldn't get her out of it unless we go back to WWE and she could do like a honky tonk man or something, So if anything, I thought it was a bold move on Lauren's part to say, I feel this way. And if you're not going to listen to what I'm saying, I'm going to put her in the corner where she's got to explain. So maybe you guys can hear from her why I have this issue with her. And it was going to make it tough for Raven because she doesn't react the same way that some people might.
How was it playing with Jason? I mean, playing with Raven overall, Jason?
Oh my God, I loved Raven. Like, it broke my heart to vote for Raven because, so to be honest, Raven's situation was almost like Lori's at the beginning. You had to force yourself to believe that there's no way this person is this sweet and this kind-hearted and this upbeat and so genuine of a human being. She's got to be playing our asses because nobody can be that good. And I convinced myself in that very end, like, well, if everybody else is thinking it, maybe I was right about Lori, but it was Raven doing that. And Lori's just who she is, but Raven's playing the character. She was definitely the hardest elimination of the entire season for me because I don't think she ever did anything traitor. The rabbit hole thing is correct. Good Lord, I hope I never go into another rabbit hole for the rest of my entire life, thanks to Raven. But it was all genuine. It's just who she is. She's proud of who she is, and nobody should judge that. I hate the whole we should judge people in this. That was the most fun and sad part to this whole game is you're judging people just on who they really are as a person. And Raven was one of the most genuine people, and it hurt me genuinely to have to vote for her. But we had to know. It had gotten to that point. But we didn't realize at the time she was most on to something of everybody in the game left.
True.
If I could have just got that same 5 o'clock phone call that you got, I would have been all about keeping Raven that day.
Well, Lori, you seem to follow the rabbit hole in the end. You seem to, because you went with Raven's info against Elle, yeah?
I did because she did give me good intel on Elle. She really did. And but that was kind of already towards the end. And I was like, oh man. I'm like, and I kind of thought it was like a good traitor move because if Raven was a traitor, then like we got Lauren out, and then now it's time to get out Elle. And so that's kind of why I voted for Raven, because I wasn't for sure at that point in time if she was a traitor or not. But yeah, I did. Once I found out that she was a faithful, I was like, oh, I got it.
That's the hardest thing during the Traitors. The Traitors are usually very good at, like, if two people are ranked each other and they off one, or you guys vote out one, it's hard to not want to find out about the other person.
Yeah.
Well, I asked this to Lori earlier, Jason, but even though you're a winner, would you ever play another game?
Oh my God, I live and breathe this stuff. I love the game so much, but more importantly, the judgment from the podcast makes
Oh
it
my God,
so
David.
worth it that I've got to have that. You know, like how could I not live my life with another podcast talking about how horrible I am, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm playing the worst game ever.
They gave it
The
to you
whole
so
time I'm
hard.
saying to myself the same thing they're saying. It's just I'm actually playing it. Not
Well, I will say you'll see this tomorrow. They finally gave you props tonight on the podcast.
look at
for your
that!
game.
I finally made it.
And I will
Right
say,
on.
Jason, your final game, your last episode, I thought it was flawless. I mean, you guys voted out Raven, but then you went straight to after Dar. You convinced Anthony to vote for Dar because it might have been against you if you didn't convince Anthony.
For sure,
to vote for
it
Dar.
was going to be.
Did you know that? Is that why you went so hard?
No, Nick, I have a blast with it, and you know, I said apart at the very end of my confessional that the great thing to this is we get to be a version of ourselves in these games, but thanks to you and what you do for us, we also get to play a bit of a character, and we get to be somebody for a couple hours a night whenever you decide we're going to be part of a show that we don't get to do in our regular job. We talked multiple times on a personal time that I have a very serious job that I'll be getting up for in about 6 hours for. On the side, I'm a stand-up comedian, and I travel all over telling jokes and doing different things. This is an opportunity where, you know, you get to be something that you can't be all the time, and you get to try things and think about things that you wouldn't in a million years. I never thought I'd see the day outside of the military where I have to judge somebody over a computer screen on whether or not they're telling me the truth or they're full of it. And if I don't get it right, somebody else is going to be mad at me because they think that. It's so fun. And what you did with this, with no challenges and we didn't even know what we were doing. Somebody said at the beginning, like, how do we even know what we're supposed to be judging? And I'm like, I think we're just judging whether or not we don't like somebody right now. That's the worst feeling in the world because I like everybody. But man, it's just like
I remember saying, what are we supposed to be traitoring?
Yes, that's exactly right. So the way that you change games up and you give us an opportunity to do the stuff that probably inside so many people wish they could do or would like to take a chance on, and we get this opportunity thanks to you and what you're doing here, absolutely. I'd do it again in a heartbeat, with or without judgment. Sign me up. I'm taking it. I love it so much.
Would you go after the people on the podcast if you played with them?
Well, I don't know that I want to answer that right now because you haven't decided whether or not I'm on another game. But they made it very clear that they would love to play against me. So I got a bad feeling I'm getting voted off first. But if Lori's around, I feel like there's a little bit of loyalty there. So I might make it through a round or two. Yep, I'm going after them. Except for Mike. I'm never going after Mike again.
Well, do you think Mike might come after you is the problem?
I know he's going to.
I know. I was there's probably not going to be a reunion. Unfortunately, it's just not going to fit with my time schedule right now. But, what better way to squash the you and Mike beef than in a future game, I say.
I think so, too. I tried to say it all the way to the end. I felt like I was reading a eulogy about how great of a man he was and how sorry I am. And luckily, we already like the same team, so I don't have to bless his teams. But I tried to, at the end, make sure I was repeatedly saying, like, Mike had it right all along. Don't give me credit for this. I'll take credit for L.
But I will say, when you voted out Mike and gave that speech, it was one of my favorite parts of the season. It was
really
so dramatic, Jason.
That would go along with the same. That would go along with the same speech of the Ellen Lauren thing when I was just blatantly confused, thanks to the Rock's tequila.
Do you know you're so dramatic, Jason?
Oh, I know that. It's 100%. That's what I do.
Just making sure.
I don't get paid for nothing, Nick. Come on now.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, do either of you winners have any final thoughts on the season?
I had one quick question I have to ask Laura. You can air or not air. As we go to vote for L, I know you, like me, had to make it a bit dramatic. You only gave us what, Nick, about 3 minutes?
Like 5, I think.
Did a party you want to put down my name? Or at that point,
No.
were you convinced? Honest?
I was convinced. Honest.
Because in your speech, you told me, I just knew it was the Air Force thing. I knew you were good. And then we were watching the show. I'm like, Lori hated me all the way till the last episode. She was voting me off. 65.
No, I actually, I went with Al because Al was going after you so hard. And I was like, he's not going to stand for that.
Yeah. All right. I wondered this whole time. I've wondered and wondered.
I haven't gotten to Oh, Laura, you froze. I haven't gotten to interview Anthony yet, but when I do, my question is, and I don't know if Lori knows this or if she could hear me right now. But if Anthony doesn't have to quit the game, I'm not convinced that you guys get out, and then Anthony might still suspect you, Jason, and be
Yo,
like,
I think so
me
too.
and Lori, so we might as well just go to the final two.
Yeah, I think that was my toughest part, and I don't want to say it would have broke my heart or anything emotional.
It would have been
Meg
savage.
gets upset about. I don't want to say anything that's too sentimental or Jesus, this guy just needs to get a tissue or whatever they say. But I do believe to the very end Anthony was going to turn on me, and that would have killed me because he was my closest ally for sure. I started to believe in Lori because of Anthony. And I had no clue that whole time that Anthony was still pretty, including all the way to the end when he was speaking to Elle and said, like, yeah, I got my suspicions on Jason. I'm listening to everything. But he went with me with the Dar thing. I was next. I really believe 65 was on the horizon.
Like they say on the podcast, do you need to be liked or are you defensive?
I think that you need to be liked thing probably goes a little bit into I'm always doing crowd work and you want to walk out of selling tickets and everybody saying, oh, I had a good time and that was a great show and you put on a great performance. No, there's a bit goes back to we're playing a bit of a character here. I do stay up trying to critique and see what I can do better, what I did wrong, what I said wrong. But at the same time, man, when I hear those negative things, it ain't like I'm genuinely upset. I love it. I enjoy it. I think it makes for fun, especially when I'm watching, knowing what really happens and how things are going to continue. You get a little bit of a ha-ha moment and you're not as hurt anymore as you are when you're here.
And it's fun when you're a few drinks in too.
That always makes it better. Sometimes I need those just so I can handle all the negativity.
Well, I wish Lori was still here, but I want to thank you both for playing. I thought it was a great season.
Me too.
I think, you may have had a couple of mess ups, but I think in the end you played great. So
Thanks, man.
Great winner. Lori as well. Her notes came in handy in the very end against Elle.
I know this was the first season of this, but I hope to God you go with this theme again because especially with the group from the podcast, I think you got a crew now that it would be a lot of fun to watch them. And especially the way you randomly choose the Traitors, they're going to have a blast with each other. I think that they're going to get to know each other in a different way than they even have after all these years. And you're going to be the one sitting back, like I always call you, the Wizard of Oz, just laughing your ass off, having a good time with it. Because I think it was a genius idea. I would never tell you how to do things, but the whole no challenge thing and just throw us out into the water and figure it out for yourself. That was one of the funniest things I've ever dealt with in my whole life. That made it so cool and so neat. I just appreciate it. And I'm so thankful to you, buddy.
Well, I was just saying, Lori, I'm glad you both had fun, and I think you both are great winners, and I hope you guys will play a future game. I'll definitely ask again. I don't know when, but it could be sooner than we think, but we'll see.
Sweet. I'm down.
I mean, I will say that go ahead.
I was just going to tell Jason, because I got cut off, I don't know what the heck happened. But, no, Jason, I didn't ever think it, there was, from, night 10, I stopped thinking it was you. And, I needed people to look at you so I could find out for sure. But, I didn't think it was you.
Maybe it was the night I told you I trusted you more than I trust anybody in the entire game.
I think so.
I did tell you that, remember?
But I'm not Susan.
Susan's great. It's going to be you ever pair them two?
I need to get Lori and Susan on the same season.
Absolutely.
But I was I was going to say if I invite you both to another game, it might be all returnees. So you might have a whole war ahead of you. So.
Oh my gosh.
Right on.
Oh my gosh. I'm taking out extra insurance that season.
All right. Thank you both. It's been great.
Thank you guys. Hey, Lori, one last high five in the air. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you guys so much. I had a blast.
Yes,
thank you, buddy.
Good night.
Appreciate everything. Talk to you soon, sir.
I love you.
Night,
my beautiful. Okay. Good night, guys.
See y'all.